Hey everyone, I'm Brandon Lee, and if you're watching this video, it means that you requested or were interested in a copy of my 30-minute talk that I give at Sales Kickoffs this year in 2022. So let's jump in. So we're talking today about first conversations with ideal customers using social media. Now, before we begin, I like to just share this, a little something funny to get us moving, but it also has a point. So you may have heard this one, but there's a group of guys and they're walking through the forest and they're on a backpacking trip. And as they're going along, they've come across a pretty ferocious bear. And the first guy looks up and goes, "Oh no, what are we going to do?" And he looks over and his buddy is leaned down, tying up his shoes. And the first guy says, "Man, what are you doing? We can't outrun a bear." And the second guy looks at him, he says, "I know, but I sure can do my best to outrun you." But I know. But hey, this is why I tell that story or that joke right now. One, I just like to start with something funny. But number two is, as we come into 2022, I think this is where we all are in our businesses, is that we need to do what we can in revenue generation to outrun our competitors. You see, everything has changed, with COVID, and it's accelerated the digital transformation. The phones aren't working quite the way they used to for developing first conversations. Email cadences aren't quite working the way they used to. And we really need to figure out what we can do to stay ahead of our competition. So everybody, my name is Brandon Lee, and thank you so much for joining me today. Just to give you a little bit of a background about me so you know who this guy is that's chatting at you. The picture there in the middle, my pride and joy, my wife, Megan. We've been married for 23 years, and we have 5 kids. And we recently just added our first son-in-law about a month ago. He's, the tall guy over there that doesn't quite look like the rest of us. But hey, I am a sales guy. I love sales processes. I love cadences. I started in sales in the 90s, back in the day where I learned it took about 8 touches with the ideal customer in order to develop a conversation. And now with so much technology and so much change that's been going on in the world, that number is up over 30 in some cases. So I am also the host of the Digital Influence Show, which is a podcast and a YouTube channel. I'm the founder of Yip Yip Technologies and FunnelAmplified. And I'm also a founding member of Digitize HQ, which is a free community where we talk all things digital from the C-suite to the front lines. So let's jump in and get started. So as you're going through this today, we are going to move very, very quickly, but I want you to be focused on 2 key objectives. One is I want to share with you a proven 3-step model that we have developed, we've seen with customers over the last 3 to 4 years that develops first conversations with your ideal customers. I'm also going to include my favorite technique of getting 75% or more of your LinkedIn connection requests accepted. But all of that has to take place under the umbrella of creating your personal brand. So we're going to talk about how we develop your personal brand, and we're going to talk about what are activities that we do in order to generate first conversations. Now, when I give talks like this, I like to encourage everybody to look for their gold, much like the 49ers were back in the gold rush days in California in the United States. They did everything they could in order just to find little small pieces of gold. So since we're designed to move fast today, and I've got a lot of great information that I want to share with you, I just want to encourage you to look for your gold. Find 1 or 2 pieces of nuggets, little gold nuggets, as I like to say, something that's really small to put in your hand, but you could put it in your pocket and generate tremendous opportunity or wealth for you and for your customers. So that's the way we're going to get started. Are you guys ready to go? All right, let's hit this really, really fast. So as we jump into personal brand, I want to play another little game with you, okay? So let's pretend that you need to get to the airport. You got an important meeting, you're getting on a plane, and you have two options of transportation. You have option number one, and you have option number two. Which one would you choose? Now, may not be in an environment where we're not, doing give and take, and this is recorded, but generally when I do this, hands get raised for option number two, because I mean, who wouldn't want to go in a Ferrari and head to the airport? But what I want to show you, what I want to demonstrate is that everybody jumps to conclusions. When the details are not there, we jump to conclusions. Of course, we all say, I'd love to go in the Ferrari instead of pedaling myself. But that Ferrari was a prototype. It's got a beautiful shell, but it didn't have an engine. See, that car was never going to get you to the airport. Of course, the bike would get you there. So option two would have been or should have been the right decision. However, I want to use that just to make a point that for all of us, our perceptions rule, especially when clarity is absent. So when it comes to our personal brand, when it comes to making sure that our brand is something that our buyers want to approach us, they're more attracted to speak with us than wanting to run away from us. It really comes down to our passive digital presence and our behavior on social media. Now, what do I mean? What do I mean about this? When anyone, including you, I would imagine, is when you receive a connection request, an email, or a call, what do? You want to find out who it is, right? Generally, we go to LinkedIn and we look and see who they are. Now, what are we looking for? We're looking to see, is this someone I want to speak with? Their perception of you rules their decision to accept a connection request or to respond to your outbound communication. So this is why your personal brand is so important. So your personal brand is determined by two things: your passive digital presence, your profile. They can come by 24 hours a day. It's a window into who you are. Look at you and get a sense for, is this somebody I want to speak with, or is this somebody I want to avoid? But then you also have your active social activity or your behavior in social media. What do you publish? How often? What do you share? What do you talk about? Who do you engage with? Who do you know? Those are the key behaviors that they are looking at when they're making a decision if you are somebody that they want to engage with or accept a connection from. So let's take a look at what this can look like. Now, I know this one is a bit of an extreme case, but this is what some people's profiles will look like, right? They look like they're not in business, they're not available. And if you you make a call, you send an email, you send out a connection request, and your profile looks like this, what are the chances that somebody's going to want to reach out to you? Pretty low, because it looks like you're closed and you're not open for business. But let's take a look at this one. And this is an example. If we know that buyers avoid sales professionals, but they want to engage with people that they perceive to be a trusted advisor or a thought leader in the industry. See, buyers have all this control now. They don't need to speak with us as salespeople. We need them to want to speak with us. So when you look at this profile in the headline just screams salesperson, right? If you got an email from somebody or a phone call or a connection request, and you looked at this, what would you assume? You probably assume that this person wants to sell you something. And sometimes even with our profiles, when they get into our about section, and it says more about, I'm a great sales rep. I've been on President's Club 5 years in a row. I crush my sales goals, right? We might as well be telling everybody, Hey, I'm a sales rep and I crush my sales goals every year, and I'm going to charge you as much as I can so I can make a huge commission. Those are not the things that we want to communicate with our ideal customers. So, does your profile help you be avoided or be received well by your ideal customers? Now, here's a little gold nugget. Change your headline. Very, very simple, whether it's in LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. When we come out and just say we're a salesperson, their initial reaction is you want to sell them something. And their perceptions go to, now you may not be an overly aggressive, you may not be a salesperson that just sends connection request and then immediately sends out a message that says, do you want a demo? You may have more skill than that, or you may have a different approach. But for most people, because that happens so much in social media, when they see salesperson on our headlines, our title, what they immediately think is they are going to be sold. So just a real simple, change your headline. And here's my encouragement. Change your headline to be a little bit about who you are as well as what you do, but don't make it your title, because nobody cares about your resume unless you're in a job search mode. Nobody cares about your resume. They care more about what can you do for me. So there's one opportunity for just a very, very simple, little tiny gold nugget, but it really does help change a lot of the way people respond to you or their acceptance rates with your connection requests. Now, as we get into this around our behavior in social media, I wanted to give you this just for a little bit of motivation. When we're working with customers around including a social media-based cadence into their existing sales systems, these are some of the typical outcomes or average outcomes that we receive. And these are over 6-month programs. This isn't like it takes years and years, but generally we are doing, as they add social to their existing cadences, they're increasing revenues, they're increasing qualified leads. And the good news too is it accelerates the sales cycle, especially with their closed wins. Because when we're using social well, our buyers start to perceive us more as a trusted advisor and a thought leader in the industry, rather than just a salesperson who, honestly, most buyers just tend to avoid these days. So let's take a look at what we mean by this. So we want to add using social as an additional cadence program into your prospecting strategies. Now, you probably have existing prospecting systems right now with the phones, with email. You may or may not have face-to-face right now because of everything that's going on in the world with COVID and lockdowns. And by the way, for all of you in the UK, awesome. As of Thursday, I think I read, no masks. That's fantastic. But what we want to do to accelerate and get some of these revenue generation and qualified outcomes is we want to add social or a digital prospecting cadence into your daily prospecting activities. Now, what does that look like? Over the last 4 years, my team and I have applied everything that I've done over the years in prospecting through phones and emails and direct mail and face-to-face and trade shows and all those other mediums or those channels, and started looking at how do we take advantage of using social media, and is there a benefit to using social media instead of or in conjunction with phones and emails and face-to-face. And what our research, what our data has found is that there's 3 key activities that we need to do in social media to add social cadences to our existing prospecting programs. It's we need to engage, we need to share or publish content, and we need to send out connection requests in order to grow our network. Now, what I'm going to do is go into detail of each of these 3, because I want you to see how just simple changes of your daily behavior inside of social media can add and make your phones, more productive, make your email cadences more productive, and accelerate the opportunities that you have inside of your existing pipeline. So let's talk a little bit about social engagement. Social engagement is the most important of all three of these social-based activities. Now, let me tell you what social engagement is not. It is not posting and waiting for them to come to you. It just doesn't work. It's part of the process, but alone, posting, publishing content, and waiting for thousands of people to read your messages and go, oh my gosh, you're the answer to my prayers. Sounds great in theory, but social media in that way is not a magic bullet. What social engagement is you strategically going and engaging with your ideal customers. Now, what does that look like? Well, first, we go into their profiles, we go to their post activity streams, and we look and see what they have published. And we engage with it. We like it. We share it. We comment on it. Now, why do we do this? The reason we do this is because it puts us in their eyesight. You all have been on LinkedIn, I'm assuming, and you know that with their notifications, we get these notifications that'll say, Brandon Lee just commented on your post. Brandon liked your post, and you'll see my picture, you'll see my name, and you see a little bit of my headline. That is an excellent touch. Earlier, we were talking about phones, and it used to be 8 touches to get somebody to return a call, and now it's a lot more. These are social touches, and this is why it helps escalate our sales opportunities. So walk through this with me. When an ideal customer sees you in their notifications on a regular basis, they see you in their eyesight. It's a touch. It's a touch. It's a touch. Right? They're getting your name, your face, your personal brand in front of them. And a couple things that are happening is not only are you getting in their eyesight, but based on your engagement, they're starting to get a sense of who you are. Now, if you're adding value, you're making good comments, you're engaging with other people, it elevates your personal brand as more of an advisor, more of an influencer in the industry, more of somebody that has clout, not just the salesperson that sends a message that says, do you want to get on a call? We have a great product. So the value of social engagement is about getting a lot of those touches and making yourself familiar with them before we go into sales mode and start asking them for a demo. Now, I know what some of you are thinking is that, well, my customers don't post very often. And I get that because the number of data, the data point from LinkedIn is that only about 30 to 35% of people will post every month. So what do we do if somebody that is one of your ideal customers is not currently, publishing a lot of content? Well, we have 2 options, and let me show you what those look like. So the other option that you can do is click over, 2 buttons to the left and click on their all activity feed. Now, what this is going to do is this is where they are engaging with other people's content. So you see at the top of this one here, Michael Cups commented on this. And so now if I go into that and Jason's post, who's not my first connection, as you can see, is a second connection. But if I go and comment on Jason's post, what'll happen is Michael Cups is going to get a notification that says, Brandon also commented on this post, on Jason's post. Now, this works with people that are our first connections. This also works with people that are our second or our third connections. We do not have to be first connections with them. So this is an opportunity or a way for us to get ourselves in front of them. So this is an example of one that I had of just shows that Jennifer Locke and 8 others commented on Taylor Hatfield's post. Well, I commented on Taylor's post, and that's why I'm seeing this message. And as you can see there, I have Jennifer's picture, I have her name, and yeah, there are times where you might be one of the 8 other people, but the way that we help that is the more often we engage, the algorithm is going to make us more of a popular one and put us in front, put our picture and our name there instead of other people. So this is, again, we're moving quickly, but this just is a really great way of getting those social touches that help open up opportunities to get first conversations with your ideal customers. So just to summarize, because engage is so, so important. Engage, if they are not posting or active inside of social media at all, so you go to their post feed and they haven't posted, you go to their post activity feed and you see, well, they haven't liked or commented on anything in 6 months, don't quit. Here's the other opportunity. Engage with their colleagues or engage with connections and then ask them for the introduction. Remember, business is about who we know, not what we know all the time. And so we can find their colleagues that are more active in social media, develop those first conversations with them, and then ask for the introduction to the person with whom you want to speak. The other option is go find out where they are on social media. I mean, just because they're not active in LinkedIn doesn't mean they're not active in Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or any other platform. Most people are active somewhere in social media and their digital presence, but just because they're not active in LinkedIn doesn't mean that everything is lost. Okay, so let's move to step number 2, which is to publish content. Okay, so there are 2 things that are happening for you right now. Number 1 is Vericent is providing, they're going to share more information with you, but they're rolling out a program that will provide brand content and information that'll be very easy for you to review it and publish it to your personal social media accounts like LinkedIn. But here's my other gold nugget, and this is one that makes tremendous difference with the way your ideal customers perceive you. And it's to find and curate articles as a social post. And this is what it looks like. I always say, have a notebook. It could be a digital or a physical. I still like writing. Have a notebook. Whenever your customers ask a question, it could be in an email. It could be on a phone call. It could be in a live presentation. It could be in social media. But when your ideal customers are asking questions, answer it in social media. Because if that customer has it, that means more of your ideal customers will have that question. And by publicly answering those questions, it helps them perceive your personal brand as more of a information giver, more of somebody that adds value and not somebody who's just asking for demos. So here is my 3-step process in curating articles. Write down those questions, search your company's brand content for an article that answers it, relates to it. It doesn't even have to be a perfect answer. Now, internally, this is up to your sales management team and your brand. But what I also suggest is go and Google and find an article that addresses the topic. It could be on Forbes or the Wall Street Journal or some other news or blog. Obviously, make sure it's not on any of your competitors. But then this is what we do when you go share it. Now, this isn't grab the link, post it, and say nothing. To be perceived as a trusted advisor, you need to say something valuable for them to gain value. So this is the 3-step process that I suggest. Take the article, when you curate it, put in your social post, number 1, so-and-so asked the question, and write the question. Now, the so-and-so part, you could tag somebody. You could just say their title. You could say their title in the industry you're in if you don't know them that well. But you can reference that a sales leader in the B2B space asked the question, Brandon, what is social prospecting? Then number two, this is important topic for, name your industry, name their title, because, and give a reason why this is important. And then number three, here are 3 takeaways from the article that are most important. Now, don't get hung up on 3. It could be 2, could be 1, it could be 5. But if you write down the 3 key takeaways that are most important to them, this is how you stand out from so much of the noise. You're not just parroting someone else's content. You're not taking an article and just posting it as a link. You're adding value to your customers by helping them think through how they should perceive or what they should do with this content. By the way, this one right here should be a gold nugget for each and every one of you, because to stand out from the sea of sameness that is LinkedIn, we all need to be creating and publishing content on a regular basis that adds value to our customers and helps us stand out from all of our competition. That one, my friends, is one that I think is the most important for any sales professional in any industry right now, especially in this post-COVID, mid-COVID, whatever world, where so many people are working from home and there's such a lack of face-to-face. So, all right, let's move on to grow your network. Obviously, expanding our reach and getting connected to more people is extremely important. I'm not going to go into ways of sending out connection requests and all that. I think you all got that down. But what I will share with you is my system and strategy to get 70% or more of your connection requests received. And this is the way that we do it. Okay. We know that how they perceive you is what matters initially with them, and it's going to determine how they respond to you. So what I recommend is go and engage with people prior to sending the connection request. Go and engage with their post. And I say it's between 8 to 10 times that you get into their notifications. And then after you do that 8, 10, 12 times, depending on what level they are in the organization, then what you'll do is send a connection request that says, I see we engage with a lot of the same posts. It got me looking at your profile. Is it okay if we connect? It's a very different approach than just sending out a cold connection request and then following it up with, hey, do you have time for a demo? Or let me tell you how awesome I am, or any other approach. They've seen you active in their newsfeed. They've seen you engaging not with them, not just with them, but with other people with whom they're connected to. And then if they receive that connection request and accept it, what I do is I follow it up with a thank you for connecting. And then maybe a little bit later, like 12 hours, a day later, I'll send another message that says something along these lines. Would you be open to schedule a short call to meet and talk? I add, and I want to encourage you to think through how your own buyers are going to perceive or receive this, but I add usually, I'm not selling anything. I just would like to get to know you. And the key there then is when you get on the call, don't sell. Start with that relationship. Start with earning that trust. Start with getting to know them. But here's what we do all know. When you get on that first call and you're chit-chatting, generally it's going to come around to, so what do you do? And that's where you have an opportunity to start laying the foundation for a sales opportunity rather than just a good chit-chat with a new connection. So just to summarize, the social success triangle, it's these 3 key activities: engaging with other people, publishing content, thought leadership, adding value into your industry, and how you grow and expand your network so that you have more people that you can engage with, but also more people that can engage with your content and your behavior and activity on social media. So I told you we were going to move fast. We're at the end of our 30 minutes right now. And so I ask you, what's your takeaway? I want to just take a pause for 5 seconds to have you think through what your takeaway is and write it down. Now that you have it in mind, you have it written down, what are you going to do? How often are you going to do it? And who are you going to tell on your team that's going to keep you accountable to add that into your daily social activity? Everybody, my name is Brandon Lee. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share this information with you. Look, I think social media is the future of our engagement with other people. It's the future of our networking. It's the future of our sales. These are all of my social connections. Brandon Lee Digital, except for Twitter, it's B Lee Digital because my name was too long. But I would love for you to connect with me. If you found one thing, share your gold nugget with me that you take from this. Tag me on a post, come and send a connection request, introduce yourself. I look forward to meeting you. And I hope that this has been tremendously valuable for all of you. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for having me.